Hello friends, good evening. Is the screen visible? A very good evening to all. So today we are going to discuss the topic communication. Okay, so is communication a easy topic? Is communication a easy topic for you? Yes, you can chat in the chat box. So okay, almost easy. Then what are the toughest topics in paper 1? What are the your toughest topics in the paper 1? Mathematical reasoning, then logical reasoning. Okay, then what are the easiest topics in the paper 1 subjects? Okay, logical reasoning is easy for you. Akshaya, reading comprehension is easy for Arya. Okay, so how many of you are the in serious mode too about the examination? How many days we have for the examination? How many days we have? When will be the examination? Did you see the notice? May 16? No. 15 days, right? We have 15 days for the examination, right? June 16 is the date. And how many of you studying seriously for the upcoming examination? How many of you started the serious studies? Okay, Abdurrahman has started. Then Akshaya, are you started serious mode? Arya started. Then Akshaya, okay, started. So we have just 15 days, and we have to study, and we have to focus more on studying for clearing the UGC NET from the upcoming examination, right? Then we can start the session. Before that, one more question. So how many of you already attended the NET examination, the previous NET examination? How many of you already attended, and how many of you are going to attend the first time? How many of you going to write the first time the examination? Okay, Arya is going to write the first time, and Kirti already attended. Abdurrahman one time attended. Akshaya also first time. So we want to clear the NET exam. We want to clear the JRF in the first time itself, right? Okay, majority of you are going to write the first time. Okay, Jauhar first time, and Akshaya also, and Arya also going to write the first time. So we all are going to crack the UGC NET and JRF in the first time, right? So is it needed to study communication when we are going to write the NET examination? Is it compulsory to study the topic communication? So you all are said that communication is an easy topic. So is it needed to study? We have the toughest topics like logical reasoning, mathematical reasoning, research aptitude. Like we have the toughest topics. Then is it needed to study the communication? Okay, so it is relevant to study the communication because we know that. So how many of questions we have total? In total we have 50 questions in paper 1, right? We have 50 questions in paper 1. Okay, then we have 5 questions each in the every subject. We have 5 questions in the logical reasoning. We will have 5 questions from the topic of higher education. We have 5 topics from the topic of research aptitude, and each and every unit we have 5 questions, and each questions has 2 marks, right? The questions from logical reasoning has 2 marks. The question from higher education has 2 marks. The questions from research aptitude have 2 marks, and the questions from communication also have 2 marks, right? We have 50 questions, and each 5 questions each from the each topics, and every question has 2 marks. And we have to study communication more because we can answer very simply the questions from the communication. So it is easy to score marks in the topics of communication while comparing to research aptitude, and while comparing to logical reasoning. It is easy to score marks from the topics of communication. So we have to study more about the communication. Then we can score out of 5 questions. We can score 5 questions out of 5 questions in the topics of communication, and we can score maximum of 10 marks easily in the topic of communication, right? So it is very important to study the topic communication. So how many of you have seen the syllabus? How many of you have seen the syllabus? How many of you already gone through the syllabus? Okay. So in the syllabus, so before that, just one more question. Did you watch the recorded videos from our application? Have you watched the recorded videos? No. Okay. So those who haven't watched the recorded videos, you have to watch. Then you will get more contents. So some of the important topics we will be discussing in the live session. So these are the syllabus. First of all, we want to study about the communication, meaning, types and features of the communication, then effective communication, verbal and non-verbal communication, intercultural and group communication, classroom communication, then barriers to effective communication, then mass media and society. These are the topics from the syllabus. But when we analyze the previous year question papers, when we check the previous question papers, we can understand that apart from the topics from the syllabus, there will be some questions from not from the syllabus. Like there will be questions from models of communication. Actually, NTA didn't mention models of communication in the syllabus, but there will be questions from the models of communication, and there will be questions from digital media and digital communication. When we analyze the previous year question papers, we can see that there were a number of questions from models of communication, digital media, and metonyms and meta communication. Like these are the topics, and TIA has been asking questions repeatedly from the topic of communication. So in this class, we are going to study about some of the important topics in the communication. So it is very important to study about, like we can say that elements of communication, right? Elements of communication. If you attend any previous year examinations, or if you have seen any questions from the previous year communication topics, you can understand that there were number of questions from the topic elements of communication and the types of communication, right? So in each and every examination, we can see that the questions from different types of communication and the questions from elements of communication. So these topics are very important for those who are going to write the examination in the next term, so for the upcoming term. So in this class, we are going to discuss about the elements of communication and the types of communication. Okay, so if you don't understand the concept, you can just chat that. If you didn't understand or don't understand, you can chat with me. Okay, so if you have understand, you can also type that understand and move to next slide. Okay, then we can move to next. So first of all, we have to know about definition of communication. So what is the definition of communication, or how can we define the term communication? So we all know that communication is a passing the information from one person to another person, right? Communication, simply we can define that passing an information from one person to another person. It may be an information, or it may be a news, or it may be an idea, or it may be any concepts, or it may be any emotions, like anything. If a person sharing an information or an idea or an emotion from one person to another person, we can say that communication, right? And in which language the term communication is derived? So the communication is derived from the Latin language, right? So the communication, so the word itself derived from the Latin words communis and communicare. So Please note that these are the two Latin words, communis and communicare. So in these Latin words, the term communication has been derived. So which means in Latin word communis and communicare means to share or to make common. So communis and or communicare, which means to share or to make common. So here in these Latin words, the term communication had derived. So if a question, there may be a question like the term communication is derived from option A, Latin language, option B, Greek language, option C, English language. Like if a question from like this, you have to answer that the term communication is derived from the Latin words communis and communicare, and which means to share or to make common. So simply we can understand that communication is the process of sharing information from one person to another person, right? Okay, it may be sharing of the informations, or it may be sharing the thoughts, or it may be sharing the messages or informations by the way of speech or verbally or non-verbally, etc. If we share information to another person, we can call as communication, right? It is simply sharing the information, and it is the giving and receiving the message, right? Who is giving the message? Sender is giving the message, and who is receiving the message? Receiver is receiving the message. So we can conclude that communication is the transfer of information from one or more people to one or more other people, right? So I hope you have understand the meaning of communication. Is it clear, or any doubt? If you have, you can ask, or we can move to next slide. So then the next one, it is one of the most important topic in the communication, that is elements of communication. Okay, so in the examination you can see the word elements of communication, or maybe you can see process of communication. Maybe NTA will use elements of communication, or maybe they use process of communication. Anyway, both are same. If it is elements of communication, or if it is process of communication, both are same. So in the communication, there are some elements. The first one is sender, right? So we all know that sender is the person who wants to send the message with others, right? Sender is the person who wants to send the message, or sender is the person who are sending the messages. It is called sender, right? We can simply understand like who aspect of the communication. Okay, who aspect of the communication? Who is sending the message? Who is sending the message? That person is sender. Okay, now we can clearly understand in the way of, now I am taking a session to you. So when I am talking with you, who is the sender? I am a sender, right? I am the sender. And when you are chatting with me and you are the sender, I am the receiver, right? So it is very simple concept. Sender is the person who sent the message. Then what is the message? So the second elements of the communication is message. So message means it is the subject matter of communication. So we already said that sender is the person who sent the message, and the message means the subject matter. Okay, here when I am talking with you, I am the sender, and the message is these all PPTs are the message, right? These all the words in the PPTs and the words which I am saying, all these are the message, that subject matter, the content, we can say that message. So message is, we can say that what aspect of the communication. So sender, we said that who aspect of the message, who aspects of the communication, and the message we can understand that what aspects of the communication, right? So what is in the message? Simply we can understand like that. That what is the subject matter? What is in the message? So that subject matter is called the message. The subject matter may be ideas, opinions, facts, feelings, informations, knowledge, anything, anything may be included in the message. So message is the subject matter of the communication. Then the third one, the third process or the third elements of communication is encoding. So encoding means what? Encoding means we have a message, right? Sender has a message to send. So that message we have to convert into an appropriate medium. Okay, that message, that content we have to convert into the appropriate medium like words, pictures, or gestures or actions. For an example, we can say that, so in this class, I am a sender. When I am teaching or when I am talking, I am a sender. I want to send a message. So message is about the content, the subject matter, that is the knowledge or the informations about the topics of communication, right? That is the message. So I have that message. So how I can convert that message with you? How I can convey that message with you? I can convey that message with you through the words or through the written words or through the speaking words. Like, so here I encoded the message in both manner, like I have using the written manner and I am talking about this. So both written language and the spoken language I have used. So this PPT, I have the message. The message is all about the subject matter, and that subject matter I have encoded into the PPT's format. And also I am using the verbally like spoken words. So this process is called as encoding, the act of converting the original message or the abstract message into the symbols or into the words or into the pictures or into the gestures or into the actions is called as encoding. It is the how aspect of the communication. Sender means who aspect of the communication, who is sending the message. That message is what aspect of the communication. The encoding is how aspect of the communication, how the message is conveying, how the message is sharing. So this is the third elements of the communication, that is the encoding. So we studied about sender and we studied about message and we studied about encoding. And the fourth one is channel. After encoding, the fourth elements of the communication is channel. So we said that there will be a sender. Sender has a message to send. And for sharing that message, sender encoded that message. Then how we share that encoded message with others, how we share that encoded message with others. So for sharing the encoded message with others, we should have channel, right? We should have channels or mediums. So a channel or a medium is a tool which desired message is transmitted from one person to another, right? So normally how we share the information, we will use face-to-face communication, direct communication, or we can share the message through WhatsApp or Facebook or Telegrams or Instagram or any other social media apps, or we can directly call to the other person, or we can share the messages through televisions, radios. In this class, which is the channel I am using. In this session, I am using the channel Zoom, right? Zoom is using for conveying the message. So the channel or medium is a tool for the conveying the messages to the another person. It may be online chatting and networking sites, or we can directly to talk with our friends, or through television, radio, other social media networking sites, or we can use Google Meet, Zoom, anything we can use to share the information. So that is all about the channel. And the fifth one is receiver. So receiver is one of the simple concept. We know that receiver is the person to whom the symbols or the informations are shared, right? Receiver is the person. Simply we can understand that receiver is the person who is receiving the message. Suppose A send a messages to B. A is the sender and B is the receiver, right? So the receiver may be listener, or maybe viewer, or maybe reader, right? So this is the fifth elements of the communication. Then sixth one is decoding. It is very important one. Decoding is very important in the examination. There will be questions from the topic decoding. So decoding means understanding the message in the exact manner as intended by the sender. So decoding simply means we have to understand thoroughly. It is understanding the message. It is the act of understanding the messages in the exact manner as intended by the sender, which means when will be a communication effective? When will be a communication effective? If a communication have to be effective, there should be a common understanding, right? There should be a common understanding. If a sender communicating a messages to receiver, that receiver should be understand the message sent by the sender in the exact manner, right? Suppose if A sends a message to B and B is understand the message in the different manner what the A has conveyed. If we understand in the different manner, so the communication will be not effective. If the communication will be effective, both should understand the same way what B or the receiver should understand the message exactly what is intended by the sender. Or if the receiver didn't understand like that, there will not be an effective communication, and sender send a messages and receiver understand in the different meaning. So the receiver should be understand the message in the same manner as intended by the sender. That is called as decoding. So it is very important. Then the last one is the seventh element is feedback. So what is the feedback? Feedback is simply we can say that it is the response of the receiver to the sender, right? It is the response or reply of the receiver to the sender. We can call it as feedback. Is feedback is important? Is the feedback important in the communication? What is your opinion? Is the feedback important in the communication? Yes, definitely. Why the feedback is important? Why the feedback is important? So the feedback is important because we already said that a communication should be effective. How a communication will be effective? So we already said that the communication will be effective when will be the communication effective? The communication will be effective when the receiver receives the messages exactly what the sender intended. Like, so how a sender can understand that how a sender can understand that the receiver received the messages in the exact manner which I conveyed. How a receiver can understand, how a sender can understand. So sender can only through understand by feedback, right? The feedback is the only one option in which sender can understand that the receiver received the message in the exact manner which the sender conveyed, right? So the feedback is very important, right? So these are the 7 elements in the communication. So it is very important. So what are the 7 elements? Sender, message, encoding, channel, receiver, decoding, feedback, right? So what is the first one? Sender, then message, then encoding, then channel, then receiver, then decoding, then feedback, right? So these are the 7 elements in the communication. So how will be the question come? The question comes like, there will be 4 options, and out of 4 options, 3 options will be wrong and there will be one right options. So these are the correct sequence, right? Sender, message, encoding, channel, receiver, decoding, feedback. These are the correct sequence of the communication process. So in the question, there will be a different order. There will be different order. There will be mixed up orders. Like option 1, we can say that first sender, then we can say that encoding, then we can say that message, then we can say that receiver. In option 2, we can say that first maybe sender, then maybe messages, then maybe channel, then maybe encoding. In option C, we can say that receiver, sender, feedback, like that. So questions will become like this. There will be 3 wrong options, like there will be changed in the sequence of the communication process. So for answering this question, we have to understand that communication process in the correct sequence, in the correct order. So we have to study these 7 elements of the communication in the correct order. That is, first one is sender, then second one is message, then third one is encoding, then fourth one is channel, then fifth one is receiver, then decoding, then feedback. So in this order we have to study. Okay, then only we can answer the questions, right? So is it clear? Is it clear? Can we move to next topic? Okay, so definitely you have to study in the correct sequence. Okay, you have to study in the correct sequence, in the correct order. Then only we can understand, we can answer the questions from this topic. I hope you have understood that all the elements in the communication, and we can move to next one, that is types of communication. So it is very, very important. Definitely there will be a questions from types of communication. At least there will be some types of communication in the match the following questions. So if we study about the types of communication very well, definitely you can answer one question from the upcoming NET examination. So what are the types of communication? How many types of communications there are? What are the types of communication? Okay, you can comment that types of communication. Yes, Arya said that verbal and non-verbal communication. Then only verbal and non-verbal communication is there. Mass communication. Then okay, so we can move to next slide. So types of communication. There are different types of communication. So we'll be going to study about some of the important types of communication. Okay, in the exam point of view, we have to study some important types of communication. So that types of communication we will be discussing in this session. Okay, so the first of all, we can understand that types of communication on the basis of presentation. We can divide it into two, that is verbal communication and the non-verbal communication, right? So on the basis of presentation, we can be divided the communication into two, that is verbal communication and non-verbal communication. So what does verbal communication means? Or what do you mean by non-verbal communication? What is verbal communication and what is non-verbal communication? Have you heard about verbal communication and non-verbal communication? Verbal communication using words, then okay, by words. So then what is non-verbal communication? By gestures. So first of all, on the basis of presentation, we can divide communication into two, that is verbal communication and non-verbal communication. So we can check what is verbal communication. So the verbal communication means the words spoken or written. Okay, verbal communication includes both the written communication and the spoken communication. Okay, we can divide it into two, that is oral and written communication. Okay, so on the basis of presentation, we can be divided communication into verbal communication and non-verbal communication. In the verbal communication, we can be further divided into two, that is oral communication and written communication. So the oral communication means that spoken communication, and the written communication means by using the written language. When we communicate with others by using the written language, it is called written communication. Or when we communicate with spoken words, it is called as oral communication. These are the simple concept about the oral and written communication. So we know that oral communication normally in the form of face-to-face conversations, speech, telephonic conversations, TV, radio, video, etc. Then the written communication normally in the form of letter, report, books, website, brochures, SMS, emails, etc. So these are the normally we are using for written communication. Like books we are using for the written communication. We know that websites, brochures, SMS, emails, etc. we are normally using for the written communication. So we all know that. Simply we can understand that verbal communication means the communication by the spoken words or the written words. We can simply say that verbal communication. So it is the communication about using the words, right? Verbal communication, simply understand that this is the communication by using the words. It may be words spoken or it may be words written. Either we can understand that, anyway we can understand that it is the process of communicating, or it is the process of sharing the information by using the words, either in the written format or in the spoken format. It is called as verbal communication. Then what about the what about the non-verbal communication? So it is all about through the signs and symbols, right? So verbal communication, we understand that verbal communication is the communication by the words, by using the words. But when it comes to non-verbal communication, it is the communication by using the signs and symbols, right? So it is the sending and receiving the wordless messages. So in the verbal communication, we already said that it is the communication by using the words. But in the non-verbal communication, it is not using the words. Instead, here we are using the signs and symbols. So the non-verbal communication is also known as sign language or body language. Okay, non-verbal communication is also known as sign language or the body language, and it is the powerful way for effective expression of sentiments. So we all know that Non-verbal communication is the most effective way of communicating the sentiments and emotion to others, right? So these are all about the verbal communication and non-verbal communication. So simply we can understand that verbal communication means the communication by using the words, and non-verbal communication is the communication by using the signs and symbols. So we can check one question from the previous year examination. So this is an assertion and the reason type question. So you can read the question and you can answer in the chat box. Okay. So in the assertion, smiles and laughter should be avoided when messages are serious. And the reason says non-verbal cues are always contextual like verbal communication. So option A is false, but reason is true. Option B, assertion is true, but the reason is false. Option C, both assertion and reason are true and the reason is the correct explanation of assertion. Then option D, both assertion and reason are true, but reason is not the correct explanation of assertion. So which one is the answer? So everybody should answer the question. So kindly read the question once again. Everybody has to answer. Okay. Then Arya, Abdurrahman, Akshaya, where is your answer? Kirti, are you there? Jawahar, are you there? Okay, it is an easy question, right? Okay, it is one of the simple question. So we can check the answer, right? Can I check the answer? So option C is the right answer. So we can check the one by one how the option C comes the right answer. So what the reason, what the assertion, what is the assertion? Assertion says smiles and laughter should be avoided when messages are serious. Is it right? Smiles and laughter should be avoided when we communicating a serious messages. Is it right? Assertion is assertion right? Yes. So is there any doubt? Smiles and laughter should be avoided when we communicating a serious message, right? It is right. Any doubt? No doubt. It is right. So assertion is right. Then we can check about the reason. What the reason says, non-verbal cues are always contextual, like verbal communication. Okay, like verbal communication, non-verbal cues are always contextual, right? What does it mean? Non-verbal cues are always contextual like verbal communication. What does it mean? So it means there will be different situation which a human going through. Like we have a happy situation, we have a sorrowful situation, we have some urgency situation, like in the different mode the human is going through. So we can understand that when will be a communication more effective, when will be a communication more effective. So the communication will be more effective when we will be applying the verbal and non-verbal cues. We should be applying in the we should be applying after understanding the context. Okay, so a communication will be more effective when we apply non-verbal and verbal cues based on the context. And understand, first we have to understand the context. So we can simply say that our faces, we know that facial expression is one of the more important non-verbal cues, right? So we have to study about the kinesics. In the kinesics means body language. One of the most important kinesics is the facial expressions, right? Our facial expressions. So when we are in the serious, or when we communicating a sorrowful situation to our friends, or when we communicating a news of death about our favorite persons, how we communicate a sorrowful situation to our friends, or how we communicate a news of death about our friends. If we communicate, do we communicate with smiles and laughter? If we communicate with smile, no. When we conveying a serious messages to our friends or to other persons, we should have that seriousness, right? Our faces should also show the seriousness. Otherwise, there will be a situation that the receiver will be understanding that we are telling lies, right? So we can understand that non-verbal cues are always contextual. Not only the non-verbal cues, no, both non-verbal cues and verbal cues are contextual. So when we communicating a serious thing, our face should show the seriousness, right? So the reason is correct, right? So both the assertion and reason is true, and the reason is the correct explanation of the assertion, right? Is it clear? Should I explain once more, or is it clear? Is there any doubt? Okay, clear. Okay, so types of non-verbal communication. So we can move to other types. So first we have studied about definition of communication. Then we studied about elements of communication. Then we started studying the types of communication. In the types of communication, first of all, we studied about the verbal communication and non-verbal communication. In the verbal communication, we divided into two, that is oral communication and written communication. And we talk about non-verbal communication, and we said that non-verbal communication is all about communication through using the signs and symbols. And next we have to understand that types of non-verbal communication. Okay, types of non-verbal communication. So first of all, the first one is kinesics. Okay, so kinesics is all about the body language. It means the study of body's physical movement. Okay, body language means the study of body's physical movement. So the physical movements of the human body itself saying something, right? The movements of parts of the physical bodies itself saying or communicating something to the other person. So we can check that. So in the kinesics, the first one is facial expressions, right? Right. So facial expressions are the key feature of the non-verbal communication. Without using the words, we can share the information through our facial expressions, right? Is it right? Without using the words, can we communicate with others by using the facial expressions? Can you communicate, or can we communicate without using the words? Yes, definitely we can communicate the information without using the words by the facial expressions, right? We can communicate our happiness, we can communicate our sadness, we can communicate our frustrations, we can communicate our arrogance, shyness, and fear, anger, etc. Anything we can communicate without using the words by using the facial expressions. So facial expressions is the one of the important types of non-verbal communication. Then eye contact. through eye contact we can communicate, right? So eye contact, we can express our feelings, emotions, and attitudes through the eye contact, right? So when we talking about eye contact, we have to understand the word oculesics. Okay, so the study of the eye movement is called as oculesics. So in the question paper, you can see the word oculesics instead of eye contact. So don't confuse it when we writing the examination. So oculesics is the study of the movement of the eye. So there may be word oculesics in the question paper. So we shouldn't be confused with this word. It is all about the eye contact. So the facial expressions and eye contact. Then next one is gestures. So we all know about the gestures. So we know that we can communicate by gestures, like we know that thumbs up. Okay, if our friends doing a good thing or passing the examination or etc., we can give a thumbs up. It means good. So we don't want to say the good, or we don't want to write it is good. Instead, we can just give a thumbs up. Or if a person, or if the friends leaving with us, or leaving from the office, we can give a goodbye. So we don't want to say the goodbye. Instead, we can just give a gesture of goodbye, right? It is the useful channel for those who cannot speak or hear. So we know that there are some people that cannot speak or hear, so they are using gestures for communication, right? For sharing the information. So gesture is one of the important types of non-verbal communication. Then posture means particular position of the body, right? How a person walking, how a person sitting, how a person standing, how a person running. So this is called the posture. So the posture itself communicating their current mood or their personality, etc. We can understand that. So we can understand that if we see someone walking lazily, if we see someone is walking lazily, what we will be understand when we see a person is walking lazily, what we will be understand, we can understand that the person has don't the person has don't have worries or don't have any urgency. So the he or she is free now. That's why they are simply walking lazily. So that communication is conveying a particular position or particular position of the body, right? So we can simply understand that if a person running fast, what we can understand that if we see a person running fast, we can understand that that person has some emergency, right? That person has some emergency. That's why that person is running fast. Or if a person running slowly, or if a person walking slowly, we can understand that the person don't have any kinds of urgency. So so we can understand that the particular position of the body itself communicating some meaning to others. Then haptics or touch, we know that the communication by touch. Is it possible? Is it possible to communicate by touch? Is it possible? You can type your answer. Is it possible to communicate by touch without using the word? Is it possible to communicate by touch? Yes, Akshaya said yes. Yes, how we can communicate without using the words and by using the touch? How can we communicate? You all are saying yes. Then how can we communicate by using touch? So we know that Yes, it is one of the sign language. So sometimes we will be pat on the back of our friends, right? We will be pat the back of the our friends. When will be pat? We will be pat on the back of our friends. When will be we will be do to giving the appreciations, right? Suppose we are teaching in the classroom, we are providing lectureship in the classroom, we will be giving assignments to the students. If some students will be done that assignments in a good manner or in very well, so what we will do, the teacher just touch their shoulders, right? Without using words, the teacher can touch their shoulders, which means it is the appreciation. It means that touch itself communicating that well done my boy or well done my girl. Or we can simply providing our support, or we can simply providing our empathy by touching the others. So we can understand that touch or haptics is one of the types of non-verbal communication, and without using the words, by using the touch, we can share the information with others. We can understand that. Then proxemics, we also know one of the important topic. Proxemics means space language. It means how we use the space for communicating. The study of how we use space around us to communicate the message. How we use the space to communicate. So how a space communicate? Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. The space, the using the space itself communicating some information to others. For example, we can say that there are mainly four types of proxemics or space language. That first one is intimate space language. So the intimate space language, the distance between 0 to 18 inch. Okay, so 0 to 18 inches is the distance of the intimate space language. So how it is communicating? So we can understand that if a person or if some persons are using or are walking within the 0 to 18 inches, we can understand that there may be family members, or there may be close friends, or there may be intimate partners, like they are touching each other. 0 to 18 inches means they are touching each other. So who will be walking with touch? So if a person or if somebody is walking with touchings, we can understand that there may be family members, or maybe close friends, or maybe intimate partners. So this is called about intimate space language. So the distance is 0 to 18 inches. Then comes to personal space language. It is the space, or it is the distance between 18 inches to 4 feet. So if we see two people interacting in this space, if we see two people interacting in this space, we can understand that there may be friends or neighbors. Okay, how we understand like this? Because we know that if they are family members, or if they are close friends, or if they are intimate partners, there should be interacting in the distance between 0 to 18 inches, but it is the distance between 18 to 4 feet. So in this space, normally using by the in this distance normally using by friends or neighbors. Then comes to the social space language. Normally the group meetings are using this space, like 4 feet to 12 feet. So in the social space language, the group meetings is normally happening in this space language. Then 4 feet to above, it has large distance. So normally public speaking, concerts, etc. are happening in this space language. So simply we can understand that the how people interacting in the specified spaces itself communicating some meanings to others, that is called as space language or the proxemics. So there are mainly 4 types of proxemics, that is intimate space language, then personal space language, then social space language, and public space language. So you have to note about the distance as well, that is intimate space language 0 to 18 inches, personal space language 18 to 4 feet, then social space language 4 to 12 feet, then public space language 4 feet and above. So you have to understand that. Then fourth one is time language. So time language is also known as chronomics. So like oculesics, we said that what is oculesics? Oculesics is the study about the eye movement. So instead of using eye contact in the examination, they may be using oculesics. Like there should be a question like from chronomics. Chronomics means all about time language. Instead of using time language, we can see the word chronomics in the question paper. So chronomics means how the people using the time. It is the study of how the people using the time. So how the time using the time communicating, how the time is communicating. For simply we can understand that. So Aifer Education is an EdTech company. So our office time is from 9 to 5:30. So there will be mentors who will be working in the night, and so other the technical or the marketing staff normally working from 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Okay. So if an employee reach the office at 9 a.m., what does it communicate? If an employee reach at the office at 9 a.m., it means that employee is keeping the punctuality, right? That employee is a punctual. Okay. So if some persons will be reaching the office by 9:30 a.m., so we can understand that they don't have punctuality. So using the time itself communicating some meanings, some information to others, this is known as the time language, also chronomics. Then artifacts, we know that it is simple. Artifacts are the objects used to convey the non-verbal messages about self-concept, images, mood, feelings, styles, etc. So artifacts, we know that the physical, that appearance, how you look, the appearance of a person. So we know that when we see a person with black gown, we can understand that he or she is the lawyer, because lawyers are using that black gowns. Then when we see the doctor, that dress, it's when we see the dress with the doctor's dress, we can understand that she or he is doctor. We don't want to see the name board. So the appearance itself conveying some meaning, that is artifacts. Like physical context, the next one, the another non-verbal types of non-verbal communication is physical context. It is all about the physical appearance of the location. Okay, it is all about the physical appearance of the location. Simply we can understand that when we see the shop or when we see the building of KFC, we can understand that it is a KFC shop, right? Without using that name board. If there when we walking with in front of the KFC shop, the shop doesn't have the name board of KFC itself, we can understand. Without seeing the name board of the KFC itself, we can understand that is the KFC. Or like in the police station, simple example, we can take police station. When we see the police station, without seeing the name board of the police station, we can understand it is police station. Like railway station, we can understand. Like McDonald, we can understand. Like we can understand some location by its physical appearance. By it may be by the decoration is using by specific company, layout, design, or use of color, etc. We can understand that by the physical appearance of the location, we can understand that this is this and that is that, like that, right? So this is about the physical context. Then one more important types of non-verbal communication, that is paralanguage, or we can say that vocalics. So oculesics, we said about eye contact, oculesics, and chronomics means time language, and this is about the paralanguage or the vocalics. So vocalics also known as like language. Okay, so paralanguage, like language, or vocalics, it means how a person says something. So first we have studied about oral communication, right? So what is oral communication? In the oral communication, we studied about the spoken communication, right? So in the oral communication is all about what we communicate. Then paralanguage means how we communicate. Okay, this is the difference. In oral communication is all about what we communicate. Then paralanguage means how we communicate, right? So how a person says something. So when we talking with you, when I am, or when one person is speaking with other person, the sender maybe use the different pitch variations, different speaking speeds, different times in the pause, then different voice tones, then in different places they stress the words, like how a person is say something. It is all about the paralanguage. How a paralanguage comes under the non-verbal communication. How a paralanguage comes under the non-verbal communication. Is it verbal communication or non-verbal communication? So my question is, you can answer this question, how or why the paralanguage comes under the non-verbal communication. Do you get the concept of paralanguage? So it is very important. Repeatedly we can see these questions from the previous year examinations. Yes, so we can understand that we can simply understand that the paralanguage or the like language or the vocalics, it is all about how a person saying something. So when a person saying some words with very fast, what we can understand that if a person saying some content in very fast, what that paralanguage communicates, there we can understand that the speaker has some urgency, right? If we see or if we hear a person is saying something very speed or very fast, which means we can understand that speaking speed, in we can understand by his or her speaking speed itself, she or he has some urgency, right? Or if a person saying something very slowly, so what we will be understand, We will be understanding that that person, so he or she hasn't have any urgency or emergency. She or he is very free now. We can understand that. And we can understand that the confidence of the speaker, or the urgency of the speaker, or if the speaker have the anxiety or stress or urgency, everything we can understand by the speaking tone, by the speaking speed, or by the pitch variance, right? So if a speaker is saying some important things, but they don't have the confidence, so we know that it may be the by confidence also we can understand, right? If when we see a person is talking, we can understand that if that person has the confidence or has in the confidence. So the confidence, anxiety, urgency, and the emergency, stress, everything we can understand by a person is by looking to a person is saying, how a person is saying, like his or her pitch variations, speaking speeds, using the pause, voice tone, words, stress, etc. We can understand that if the speaker has confidence or if the speaker has the emergency, like we can understand by listening the words, right? So this is all about the paralanguage or the vocalics. So these are the important types of communication. So what are the important types of communication? First of all, we have studied about the on the basis of presentation, that is verbal communication and non-verbal communication. In the verbal communication, we said about oral communication and written communication, right? First, we discussed about verbal, that is divided into two: oral communication and written communication. Then we said about non-verbal communication. In the non-verbal communication, first one, facial expressions, we discussed about kinesics or body language. Facial expressions we discussed. Then eye contact we discussed. Then we discussed about gestures we discussed. Then posture we discussed. Then we discussed about haptics or touch we discussed. Then proxemics or space language we discussed. Then time language or chronomics we discussed. Then artifacts we discussed. Then we discussed about physical context we discussed. Then we discussed about paralanguage, right? So first of all, verbal communication and non-verbal communication. Verbal communication divided into two: oral and written. Then non-verbal communication, first one kinesics, the second one haptics, the third one proxemics, then fourth one time language or chronomics, and fifth one artifacts, and sixth one physical context, and the seventh one paralanguage or light language. And the first one we discussed about the kinesics. In the kinesics, we can further classify it into facial expressions, eye contact or oculesics, and gestures and postures. So these are the types of communication on the basis of presentation. So these all are the important. Then on the basis of direction, we can be classified into communication like downward communication, upward communication, horizontal communication, lateral communication, sideward communication, and diagonal communication. So on the basis of direction, the communication can be classified into four. And on the basis of formalization, we can be classified the communication like formal communication and informal communication. And on the basis of personal contact, we can be classified the communication as direct communication and indirect communication. And on the basis of real-time communication, we can be classified the communication as synchronous communication and asynchronous communication. So there are different types of communication, and the remaining types of communication we will be discussing in the next class. I hope you have understood in this class, so you can share your thoughts about in this class, whether you have understand the concepts clearly or whether you don't have understand the concepts. So you can chat with me now, and all these types of communication we will be discussing in the next class. So thank you.